Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to be talking to Tony DeSantis today, who's one of our authors. Tony, it's so great to see you. How are you?
Well, I'm doing very well. It's been a busy couple of months since the book launch, but I'm very excited and I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Well, why don't, to get started, can you just tell us a little bit about your book and why you decided to write it?
Well, okay. The book is a story of my father's journey to come to America. It's an adventure story. It's an exciting story, but it happened 100 years ago, and I I learned about it as a child. I heard it growing up, and I always wanted to write it, Georgie. I always thought this would be a great book, and everybody I told the story to would say, "You have to write that book. It would make a great movie." And I would say, "But I'm not a writer. I had I had other careers, and like many of us, I just didn't make the time." And but finally I did. So, but it happened after, a couple of situations that kind of woke me up. So,
Yeah, yeah. And then you decided, gosh, I got to get this out. I have to bring this book.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
When you have a medical scare and you think maybe you're not going to make it, you think about a lot of these things that you should have done and that you just didn't do. And this was one of them.
yeah. Well, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're all right and that you've
Oh, yeah.
recovered. Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful. So before you decided to write this book, what was your career? Did you write in your career or was something totally different?
No, I absolutely not. I was not a writer. I didn't know anything about writing. My first career was in the military, as a Vietnam veteran and in the Air Force, and then I went on. I got a master's degree in finance, so it had nothing to do with writing. But then I had a 30-year career with an international airline as a commercial pilot. And during that time, I decided I could use my finance degree, and we started a little company a financial advisory management company that we would help pilots that were getting close to retirement, pilots and their families, to prepare for retirement, and then once they did retire, to help them manage their money in retirement. And
Oh,
so I
wow.
did that for 30 years as well. So I had two careers going. I had no time for writing anything. I had a family, I had other activities that I was involved in. And so I was a very busy guy, just put it off.
Right. Yeah, as we all do. Wow, that sounds amazing. So when you decided to write the book and you were thinking, I want to get this published, what were you looking for in a publishing company or what was your thought process? Because it was probably totally new, right? Because you didn't know anything
Oh,
about
yeah,
it.
this was brand new. I didn't know
Yeah.
anything. Not only did I not know anything about writing a book, I didn't know anything about publishing a book either. But fortunately, somebody had, I think one of my editors had convinced me that I needed to join some of these indie groups like nonfiction authors and, Ally and so
Yeah.
I did that. And I started doing research on what are the options for publishing.
Mhm.
And they kept referring me to certain people who were the so-called experts in how to publish a book and your options. And these so-called experts, they actually were experts, kept referring me to companies like yours. And so there was a handful of companies, two or three companies that kept coming up. And I interviewed them, and I'm so happy I went with Girl Friday.
Yeah. Well, we're so glad to have you. But what was the difference between Girl Friday and the other companies? Was it a service or
Well,
just like a
it was
vibe?
in, yeah, it was in the people I met, online, and also in the services that your firm would provide me compared to the services that the other firms were offering me. And I kept coming back to saying, well, I would like to do it that way.
Mhm.
And Girl Friday kept coming up with the right solutions for me. And I just decided that, for what I needed in a publishing company, I wanted to hire the most professional firm that I could, and it was Girl Friday.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. Um,
Yeah,
you were thinking about, so now you found the publishing company that you're going to work for. What was your idea of success? Like, was it to, a lot of people want the Netflix deal or to be the New York Times bestseller, which, is not even a thing anymore.
that
But what
wasn't
were your
for me.
goals you were
That
looking
wasn't it
at?
for me.
Yeah.
And I remember right off the get-go when Christina, Christina, that's her name, right? When
Yes.
she asked me
Sales.
what are my goals, and I think you asked me what are my goals when you started getting involved in the marketing. I said right off the bat that I was not in this thing to sell a ton of books and to make a lot of money. My goal was to write a well-written book uh, that would be a factual account about of my father's journey and what he went through. I knew it would be interesting enough, but I didn't know whether I'd be able to write it so it'd be interesting to other readers. But I wanted it to be an interesting story. And so I wanted to honor my father. I wanted to honor his story and the legacy that he left me and our family here in America and do the best job that I could. So that was my primary motive and my primary goal was to leave a legacy, honor my father, and have him be proud of me. That's all.
Oh, yeah. And what has happened as a result? So the book's been out for a couple months now.
Couple
What's
months.
happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you. I mean, you asked, well, did you accomplish that goal? I accomplished that goal because when we launched the book officially on May 4th, I was invited to go to the Italian American Museum in Washington, D.C. and do a book launch presentation. And they filmed it. But during that presentation, I was able to tell the story, and the people that were there were very excited, very interested. At the end, the chairman of the museum announced that they were going to honor my father uh, because they have a lecture series that they do annually on Italian heritage, and so they're going to rename the lecture series to the Gaetano DeSantis Italian Legacy Lecture Series. I mean, I was blown away, Georgia. I had no idea that was coming.
You
And so my
tell
father
me.
will be memorialized forever at the Italian American Museum in Washington, D.C. They will make a plaque, they will make some kind of a, honorary type designation for him as being the lecture series. And so to me, that accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish in this book, more than what I ever expected.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I did not know that until this moment. And you didn't know that they were going to do that? Was that a surprise? They just said it?
yes. Well, at the end of, well, if you have a chance to view the video, I'll send it off. But at
Yeah.
the end, they got up after I did my presentation and they announced this, and I almost fell off the chair. I couldn't
Oh
believe it.
my God. I would have fallen off the chair. That is so crazy. Wow. I mean, that's one of those things that when we're talking to people, Tony, and we talk to new authors all the time, and what's your goals? And everyone says the same thing. And what we do, and of course, we want that. We want them to have big book sales. We would love for it to be a Netflix special, all that. But like, what are the unique things to the story? And I mean, we could have never imagined that, you and I. This
Never.
never imagined this, that this
Never.
happened.
But had I not written the story, this would
Yeah.
never have happened. And had
Nope.
it not been a good story or something they would be proud to promote, they would
Yeah.
never have invited me there.
No.
So it's a combination of factors that allowed me to be at that place at the right time and to receive this honor and the honor that my dad received because the museum is about Italian immigration. It's about the contribution that Italian immigrants have made to the city of Washington in the building and the art, the dome of the Capitol building, all these things that the Italian Americans that had come to Washington contributed to. And my father didn't work in Washington, but he worked as somebody just like that. He used the tools of the trade that are shown in the museum. So it was very appropriate for that setting. It was perfect place to have a book launch.
Oh my gosh, that's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Um, we're wrapping up towards my time with you. So I wanted to ask you just a couple more things before I let you go, because I know you're a busy guy. What is some advice if someone came to you, an author, an aspiring author that said, I'm thinking about publishing this book, but I don't know. What do you think I should do? What would be the advice?
Well, it depends on whether he was already an established author with a lot of experience and a lot of followers. I would say if you're like me, a new author or very inexperienced like me, do not try to do it by yourself, because I've seen friends of mine that have written books and they've gotten them up on Amazon and that's where they sit, and they have not had very good success. And what success is depends on the person, but most of these people were interested in selling books. Well,
Yeah.
but I think that having a professional firm like Girl Friday to be able to give you the advice that you need to do a professional job on the layout and the book cover, such great comments. So that's what I would suggest to somebody. Don't try to do it yourself. Get some professional help. I mean, it's like trying to cut your own hair. Don't do it.
I love that analogy. But the cover is a really great place to talk about. And I did want to ask you, because you were pretty passionate about your cover. And I think I was like, Tony, you don't have to have the guy climbing up the anchor chain. Not that I'm trying to talk you out of it, but when the cover design process, which a lot of authors are interested in, at Girl Friday, we come up with a couple different directions. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 7. And because you are an independently published author, meaning that you have your own imprint, you had the freedom to say what you wanted. And I think I was like, you don't have to have this. And you're like, Georgie, I want that guy climbing up the anchor chain. And you got exactly what you wanted.
Yes, and that was the other thing I would mention about to somebody that's thinking about writing a book, because this book was a very personal story to me. I mean, it wasn't like a novel where you could change things and change titles and change the story. This was a factual account, and I had this image in my mind of what it would look like, and uh, and I wanted to be the boss of my book. I wanted to be able to be the decision maker at the end of the day. I would take all the feedback and all the suggestions, and most of the time I'd go with what you guys had recommended, and I loved all your suggestions. But I still had in my mind that I wanted a certain type of cover, and your team finally, they got it and they produced, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. That's true. And I love that, because that's such a great point. We have different ways to publish books at Girl Friday, but you were a custom author, indie author. It's called all these different things. And I think what is great about that is that you can say, what do you guys think? And we worked on traditionally published books and hybrid published books. And we would say, Tony, we think this. And you'd say, yes or no. And so you can choose whatever you want. You are the boss of your own book. So everything is
Exactly.
under control. Yeah. So that's
Yes,
super.
yes. I did not want to give control to a publishing company and then realize that I had lost control.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
they may have produced something I didn't want.
And it's so personal, like you said. It's a family story, it's a personal story. Your father's journey influenced your entire life. Like if he wouldn't have done what he did, we probably wouldn't even be talking today. So
Right.
it's pretty
Exactly.
amazing. Well, what's next for you, Tony? Are you going to write another book? Are you just going to
Well, I
try
have
to get
I
this out?
have I have a book in mind that is the direct result of what's happening with this book, but it's such a big project. I'm still thinking about it. We have to take a vacation first to, kind of absorb everything that's happened so far, and I still have a lot of work to do because, as you know, I'm trying to obtain European publishing and translation rights, audio rights. So I have something to do every day. So when I get to the point where I say, okay, now what? I'll consider maybe another story. If not, then, just keep doing promotion for Stowaway. I, do some book signings or go to some events, go speak at some Italian American events or wherever I'm invited to. So, uh, but there's one thing I wanted to mention before we close out, and that's the day that we actually published the book, which was March 12th. And my wife and I were sitting in a restaurant and having a celebration dinner. And I got your email saying that I had already achieved Amazon bestseller status because we'd had a lot of pre-sales. So immediately when the book went out, in the
That's
next
great.
few days that followed, it produced the bestseller status. So I got your email and I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. And then right after your email, I got an email from the grandson of the other character that was on the journey with my father, Ernesto. And he said to me, Tony, I loved your story, but more than that, thank you for writing it because I learned so much about my grandfather that I never would have known. I knew nothing about his journey and the details that you described, and I probably would never have learned them had you not written that book. So, I mean, and these came within minutes of each other, your email and then uh, the email from the grandson, and it just I thought, wow, okay, I've accomplished what I set out to do.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Tony, it's so great talking to you. We're so proud of you and your book and what you've accomplished and what's yet to come. So I just want to say the full name of the book though, The Stowaway in First Class, a true story of an unforgettable quest to come to America. And Tony, of course, goes by Anthony DeSantis. And it's available on everywhere books are sold online. And
Yes, and you can go to my website, which your team helped me design or did design,
yeah,
and that's www.anthonydesantis.com. There are links to buy the book there, but there's lots of other links about things having to do with the story, pictures I could not include. It's a valuable website for me to be able to direct people to, and I would encourage your listeners to do that too.
yeah, I love that. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Tony. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you so much, Georgie, for everything you've done. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.